Hey guys, this is Ken. Happy to have Lauren James today, and I wanted to kind of share with you something great on our interview today with our Delaware Business Show. And just want to give a quick introduction. Lauren is one of the most notable realtors in Delaware and the leader of the James team. And I'm sure you have a great introduction that you want to share with everyone here. But I'm totally thrilled to have you here, Lauren, and I just want to thank you for taking the time to share your gifts and your knowledge in this area, and just be here with us. So, Lauren, if you don't mind, if you can just tell us a little bit about yourself, maybe your family, anything you want to share, just so everyone can get to know you a little bit.
Okay. Hi, my name is Lauren James with Patterson Schwartz. I started in real estate in 2015 and I was just an individual agent. Um, I was tired of the 9 to 5 rat race job that typically people find themselves in shortly after college. It just really wasn't working for me. And when I was probably 10 years old, my stepdad gave me the $1 Million Real Estate Agent book, the Keller Williams book.
Oh,
Um, didn't read it, obviously, but probably about 10 to 15 years later, he gave me the book again a second time and I read it
mhm.
and it just really resonated with me. You know, make $1 million.
Yep.
So I got my real estate license with also like the support of the rest of my friends and family. And I pretty much just dove in head first. Um, Basically, in the beginning, I think as a real estate agent, a lot of people sell houses to all of their friends and families. So that's what I did.
Yeah.
And then after I sold houses to all of my friends and family, of course, as a realtor, the biggest piece of your business is repeat referrals. So then, of course, I was getting more referrals from my friends and family. Um, and I just went with it. And I sold a lot and I worked a lot because also as a real estate agent, you get what you put into it. Um, so I mean, Ken, I think you asked me like what my typical day looks like, and I was trying to think
Yeah.
about it earlier. And typically, before my day was honestly, as soon as I woke up, like I was just checking texts, emails, calls, and then I would like scroll on the MLS system for houses, jump in the car, and I would probably show like some days like up to 10 to 15 houses.
Wow.
um I didn't have any sort of like attachments at the time, so I could basically just work until 10, 11 at night, and then I would just wake up again and like do it all over again. And it definitely worked for me until, after a while you do start to get a little bit burnt out and also you lose track of the more important things. So I think a good work home life balance is very crucial because otherwise what's really the point?
I
So
agree
I
with
was, yes, so that's, I mean, and I still haven't figured it out. So
you.
if anyone
We're all trying to
has
figure that out.
figured it out, I'd love to know. Um, but yeah, so then I was just very busy and I had one girl join me to help me with paperwork side of things. And if I was tied up, I needed someone to be able to show a house immediately without a beat as soon as something came on the market.
Yep.
I think when I started, it wasn't, you were able to get to a house like that first day. And if you wrote an offer, you basically got the house. Now it's not like that anymore, which is a little bit frustrating.
Because everyone does
Um,
the same thing, right?
yeah, the market is insane. And if anybody is looking to sell a house, sell it now because we need houses on the market. Um, but yeah, and then I joined a team and it really just started with people just contacting me saying that they were interested in being real estate agents and asking if I liked it and what I thought about it. And I just told them all that, you know, you go to school, sign up, finish, and then call me. And then I will just teach you what I know. And I just kept getting calls and, messages from people. So now I think we have, as of today, we have 8 people on
Oh
the
wow.
team. Yes. And,
I'm not
it was all girls.
right.
What'd you say?
on the Jane's team, your team, right?
Yeah, it was all girls at first, but we have our first boy joining as of today. He just got his license accepted. So,
That's awesome.
yes.
Yeah.
And he's also a contractor and he has a lot of knowledge on flips as well and investment properties. So, I think that he'll bring a lot to the team to help, those that may not be as knowledgeable on flipping houses and investment properties. But in the last 6 months, we've sold 49 units. So,
Nice.
yep. And other than that, I guess that's just kind of how we started out. And now
Right.
we're
Yeah.
here.
That's that's an amazing story because it shows people like if you're willing to work hard. I know, you have to worry about the work-life balance. All of us do, but it shows people if you're willing to work hard and focus on the important stuff and just work, you'll be able to succeed in this business as well. Actually, any business, it doesn't have to
Mm-hmm.
be real estate, and that's really important for some people to know. And do you mind sharing, going into a little bit details of what I know you mentioned? Now you can't just show a house on the first day and get a house.
Right.
What is working well for your clients in today's market?
So all of the girls on my team right now are basically working with all of our buyer agent clients.
Hmm.
And I've been more on focusing on the listing side. But in terms of like helping buyers find houses, I could probably think of one girl that we have. She tries to write letters, which doesn't always help. I think maybe it helped more in the future before there were so many like multiple offers.
Hmm.
But she would write letters. I think it's also important to just make sure that you're maintaining a good professional relationship with other fellow agents so that when they do come upon you in a multiple offer situation, they know what to expect with working with you.
Hmm.
Because obviously the buyer and seller are not in communication and it's the agents that are like the main face of the transaction. So they have to feel confident from a listing agent perspective that you're going to get the job done and that you're going to do it um, in the most like amicable way possible.
Right.
So that's a new one because I think also like, a newer agent, may not exactly know what they're doing. And if you don't know what you're doing, you can very easily cause a transaction to fall through. And ego can definitely come into play from what I've seen. And it's like they say every seller always feels like they're never getting as much for their house as they should be. And every buyer doesn't feel like they're getting a good deal.
Yeah.
So there's always, I think, that like hidden animosity between like, the buyer and the seller. And what I try to strive with the girls, with my team at least, because now we have a boy joining,
Sure.
is that you have to be as amicable as possible and do absolutely everything necessary to get the transaction to the settlement table because it's not always easy. Um, and then, of course, last but not least, like the terms in the contract are very important these days. A seller wants the easiest transaction they possibly can. That will also make it to the settlement table because if their house does go back on the market, I mean, it's not over for them, but it's not good. So that's always the primary goal. So can you allow the buyer to feel comfortable writing a very competitive offer to stand out? Can you waive inspections? And if you can't waive inspections, can you put some kind of clause in your offer that states that you're going to be a very reasonable buyer and that you're only going to ask for extremely major expensive items versus asking them to, to put to screw a loose screw or something like that.
Yeah, exactly.
Which is a very easy fix. But I mean, if the furnace isn't working, that's major. That's a problem. Is the roof leaking? Is there mold in those are just major expensive things that can cause, major problems down the road for the buyer. And typically as a buyer's agent, when a problem comes up after a buyer buys a house, they call you most of the time. They, if
Yeah.
their washer breaks, they call you. They don't call all of the time, Sears or anything like that. So
Yeah.
that's the other thing in this market is if a buyer does feel comfortable waiving inspections, like you also have to make sure that they're not going to be in a issue later on because they're going to contact you and that can very well ruin your reputation, which I think reputation is like the most important thing in this industry. So
Especially in Delaware, right? Because it's such a small place. Like almost every
yes,
agent know. There's only what 2,000 agents in Delaware last time
I
I.
don't even know, but
Yeah.
there's a lot. So
Yeah.
you have to do all that you can to set yourself apart from the others
Yeah. What
and
makes
care about that.
you kind of touched on that. So what stands you apart? What makes you different compared to, because like you say, right? I'm sure if you have a relationship with your friends and family, that's a little bit different, of course. But then
Hmm.
I think to a certain extent, and maybe I'm wrong because I'm not in the agent business,
Hmm.
like you also work with strangers, right? And then
Yeah, all the
how
time.
do you, yeah, all the time, right? So how do you stand
Hmm.
apart from three other agents? Some of them might even be willing to charge less and still say they're going to do what they're going to do. How do you, like, what makes you stand apart from sellers in this case?
So I guess so whenever I get a listing call, I always set an appointment. A lot of the times I have very limited information on their property. I mean, I try to do as much digging as I possibly can, but I guess I go out as prepared as I possibly can be, and I introduce myself. I do like working with people a lot, so typically I'm able to mesh with many different personalities.
Right.
I kind of have my own flow from the time that I walk into a property. And I basically just do the same thing with each client, and we walk through. I have them show me the house.
Hmm.
I always go over recommendations on what they can do to get it ready. So I think the most important thing is just to prove your value early on,
Hmm.
um, because that's what everyone's looking for. I mean, they want to see what value you bring to the table. So, I mean, every situation is completely different. So it's hard to say exactly uh, what I do,
But
but
you, but you
then
have
I
a
just,
general process that allows you to kind of touch on everything you want to touch on and make it
yeah.
that you're the best choice among the five people that, well, usually sellers not going to talk to 10 different agents. They're going to talk to three or five or two. But then but then but then it's a numbers game, and if you're good at what you do, they enough of them choose you where you have a thriving business right now, right?
Well, I guess like my one trick slash secret that I'll reveal is that I always like to be the last agent they interview.
Oh, okay, got it. I've heard that before. Yep.
Yes. So that was taught to me by like a previous mentor, and it's always stuck because, if they're interviewing five agents, those agents are all, going to want to do all they can to obviously get the listing, but I always just ask if, I can at least be last to make like that final impression. So I
Got it. So
think
so
that's a good tip.
your philosophy or secret is to be the last, but not the first.
Yes. And with experience, it's helped, I think. I mean, I don't know if it's helped every single one, but
Right.
it was good advice that I was given early on.
Right. Because in the investment world, we
You have to
have
be first.
we have two schools of thought. Well, some people want to be the first, and
Yeah.
that's more like that's generally me. But also, I I would sometimes want to be the last as well, because some people just want to talk to. They have a process, right? They want to talk to three different people or five different people, and then I'm going to make a decision. And then if you're the last, then you can kind of walk them through. Okay, I may not always be the best person, but based on what you told me, I might be a good fit. But then I guess because our clientele is a little bit different, they tend to value speed, and the first one that comes along that makes sense, they'll tend to go with it. Uh,
Right.
yeah, and I was just thinking also about what you mentioned before. It's funny because because we have a handful of listings going on at a time, all the time, right? We buy and sell
Hmm.
all the time, and so, a buyer's agent actually did what you suggested before. Was like we're just gonna negotiate on repairs over $500, not like things, not like the switch plates or like a nail in the wall or things like that. So it's kind of interesting how some people, and I don't get that a lot. It's funny, like the last
Hmm.
and that's the only one that did it. So and that made me feel better as well because then I'm like I don't want to have to deal with all this 2 pages of little things that you could just do it yourself.
It gets very overwhelming, and
Yeah.
code changes yearly. So, I mean, if it's a 100-year-old house, comparing it to like new construction and how that's built, I mean, you know, it can get to be a lot. So,
Sure.
and if we are asking for repairs, I like to try to condense them as much as possible and or like categorize the systems with the
Yeah.
professionals needed so that it's not as overwhelming to present.
Hmm. Sure.
So, yeah.
So I know you have a baby.
Hmm.
Is she just over a year now? Year old?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah, she's almost 13 months.
13 months. That's awesome. My
Yes.
my 1 year old son just turned 2 weeks ago. So it's about yeah, I
Oh,
think they're about the same age.
yes.
How has life changed since having the baby? Because I know that's always that big, transition for most people.
Yeah, well, it's funny. I was like thinking about this like months ago actually. It's quite
Yeah.
the challenge because before like like I said I just worked all day basically. I mean, I worked at the dinner table. I worked when I was out to dinner with my husband. Like I
Oh.
would be taking phone calls. We went to Italy and we were supposed to get engaged and apparently he missed out on like 20 different opportunities to propose to me because I was on my phone the whole time.
That's
And
all.
yeah, all my friends and family, like they were constantly like yelling at me to get off my phone. Even now, like I had a listing appointment down the beach, so I just figured I'd come down for a couple of days. So like I've been just working out on my phone on the beach.
Right.
And my friend was like, "You need to get off your phone." Um, so it can be like a very addictive business because like I said, like you get what you put into it. But I definitely took a little bit of time right after I had her, which was nice. But I think routine is important, not just with a baby, but just in life in general. So
Yeah.
now that we're kind of back into a routine, all of the girls on my team who have joined, like, I have 6 years of experience now, and they, have just joined this year, but they've been moms for several years longer than I have and have that experience that I don't. And it wasn't something that I was planning or thought would happen, but they've kind of become like my mentors in a way. So
Right.
it's kind of like a back and forth thing. Like I'm teaching them real estate and then they're teaching me how to be like a mom and work and like do everything at the same time.
Right.
So I don't even really feel like a team leader half of the time because like I just feel like now we're just kind of all sharing our
Right.
life work experience. So, but they are like all killing it.
Hmm.
So even me, like I just sit back and like I don't even know how they're using the hours in the day to get everything done that they're getting done while also like, one of the girls on my team has a 5-year old, 3-year old, and two
Wow.
two-year old twins. And
Oh my God, that's a
and
lot.
she's just doing it. And then the other girl on my team just had a baby 2 weeks ago and she just got a house under contract 5 days ago.
That's amazing. Yeah,
Yeah.
that's
So
crazy. Um,
yeah,
so
it's
so
not
obviously,
easy, but
yeah. I mean, nothing's really easy. I think just making time for everything that's important to you is important because it's funny you mentioned the book. I actually have it right here. I don't know if you can see
The
it.
Red Book?
The Red Book. Yep.
Yeah.
The Millionaire Real Estate Agents, right, by Gary
Yeah.
Keller.
Yeah.
Obviously, I'm not an agent, but I read that too when I first started the business a while ago. That's 10 years ago now. And the one thing that stuck to me is you in life you have different balls that you have to
Mm-hmm.
juggle, and then
Yeah.
work is like a rubber ball, and then it bounces, right? It goes up and down, and it
Mm-hmm.
always bounces back up if you actually put some efforts into it. But then
Right.
family is like a glass ball, and if you drop it, then it might get a chip, best case scenario, but then it worst case scenario it might just break and you never be able to have the well it's a glass ball, right? So that kind of stuck with me, like I'm
I
definitely not.
love that.
Yeah, so it's like work, not saying don't work, right, and just do nothing at home, but
Yeah,
then
definitely not.
yeah, well, not happening in our world.
Yeah.
But I like the idea of always paying attention to that family ball that's up in the air that's gonna get chipped because you don't pay attention to it. And I think you mentioned girls. I feel like sometimes girls are so much better at that because you guys actually naturally pay more attention to it versus you know guys just like, oh, I'm gonna go conquer the world, be a billionaire, or you know how guys are.
Yeah.
Um, but what does it take for you? You mentioned about being a leader, which you are, because you have like 8 people underneath you with you right now, right? Including
Mm-hmm.
the guy. What does the leadership mean to you, if you don't mind mind sharing? And also, what are you doing to get better at it? Can you share some of it? Because I think that's gonna be helpful for me and everybody else.
Well, the only mentality I think I still don't know very much, obviously, but I think I try to make sure that I'm giving as much like recognition as I can. Um, my husband actually taught me that from his experience in like management positions is that even though in my head, like I think people are doing so great and it's so impressive,
Mm-hmm.
people need to know that as well. Because they might not know that, and you have to make sure you're telling them and like reiterating it to them, frequently that they're doing a great job. And I mean, that's with anything in life. I mean, like, of course, like you might be thinking something, but if you're not telling the other person, I mean, how do they have any way of knowing?
Yeah.
So recognition, I think, is like really important. And then I try to just treat everyone kind of as equals. So I don't even know if I even like the term like leader. I'm going to use the word like value again. I just try to make sure that
Mm-hmm.
I'm providing value and that I'm able to teach somebody like a skill so that they can like provide for themselves and their family and be successful. So,
Mm-hmm.
um, and then I guess, and the most important thing is making sure that you're on top of like the communication. So like every time somebody needs something, like you have to make sure you're on it. And I think in the beginning it got a little bit overwhelming for me.
Yeah.
On top of like the other transactions and stuff that I was doing with like buyers and sellers, and then of course like your home life. But that was the biggest thing I've noticed recently is I have to make sure that I'm like putting the time in with each individual person um,
Do you
to
do
make
like
sure that I'm helping them grow.
did you time block something for like a one-on-one, or what was that
So,
to you?
I, yeah, I did that in the beginning, but then I think like, I mean, real estate can be so complicated. Like it's just, you get what you put into it.
Yeah.
Um, I think how I learned is that once I was able to grasp the basics and once somebody showed it to me once, then
Yeah.
I was then able to run with it. And I was really easy at just figuring things out on my own. Um, and
Mhm.
then I think I forgot that just because like that may work for me or someone else, like what works for someone else does not work for another person. So that was another thing that I learned early on as well. Um, But time blocks are important, and we've actually haven't had any kind of team building experience recently since the winter. So um, we do plan on doing something like at the end of August, but we also have like a group text. So if I'm not available to respond to somebody right away, somebody can like, ask their question in the group text, and then there's like six other people that can answer it because chances are they've already like learned that or know the answer to it because
Right.
I was able to teach it to them, and then I think them going back and then teaching it to somebody else just helps reiterate that in their mind better.
Got it. So you have like a group text on your phone, let's say your iPhone group text, and then everyone just put in their question there, and then your more seasoned agents already know the answer to the basic questions. So they if they have time, they'll answer it rather than everything
Yeah.
for you.
Yeah. And of course with group text, like it can always be overwhelming because sometimes you look at your phone and you have 60. So sometimes it's hard to like
Right.
scroll down, and it can be like overwhelming, but it has been very helpful. So they've become more of like a tight knit crew, and like have also just been relying on each other to answer each other's questions, which is another thing I didn't plan on happening, but it's
Right.
extremely helpful.
Sure. So where do you see your business, like where do you see yourself and your business going to in the long run? Any have you thought about what it's going to be like? I know sometimes it's hard to know exactly what it is, but what direction do you plan to take your team?
Well, I still get a lot of inquiries from people who are like interested in the business. So I think just recently I've had two other people reach out to me within the past like few weeks, and it's all the same. I tell them where to go, what to do, call me after, and then they sign up, and then we start where, we meet and we do time blocks where we can start to kind of train. Or I've had people like come with me on showings before,
Hmm.
and listing appointments as well to kind of see what I do, to kind of like learn on what they should do. But I think the biggest goal is to hit 100 million in 1 year. So 5 years from now, I would like to sell 100 million. So grow the team and sell 100 million. So that's my goal on the wall.
That's your they call it the big hairy audacious goal, right?
Yes.
Got it. In 5 years.
Yes. So because I think each year that I've been in real estate, I've sold like a little bit more each year. Um,
Yeah.
I think this year, no, 2020 was a bit of a dip, I believe. 2021 swinging back around, but yeah, after I'm going to give myself five years minimum to hit 100 million in 1 year.
Got it. For the entire team, right?
Yes.
Oh, that's amazing. Yep, definitely. We gotta you gotta have a big celebration when that happens in a few years.
Yes.
Yep,
Yes.
I'll definitely have to bring you a big gift if that happens. When that maybe it might be earlier. You never know. Sometimes
I know
people.
if it could be earlier, that would be greater, and then I'll have to double it for the next
You
year.
have 200 in 5 years, right? Yep,
Yeah.
be amazing. So what do you think might be your biggest challenge, or what do you think you might need help with right now? Any thoughts?
Hmm. Um, hmm. Well, I always need more leads, so that's always a problem.
Okay.
I need more sellers to sell their house right now.
Inventory.
Um, yeah, so, you know, um, I've done flyers in the past. Uh, I think it depends on where you're sending them, but yeah, I mean, the biggest thing is that it's frustrating for a buyer to not get their offer accepted over and over and over and over again. It can be discouraging. So
Yeah.
in that way, I would love the market to level off a little bit so that so that when you're showing a house and if your buyer likes it, they can get it. Versus having to, do risky things to try to stand themselves out from the competition. And I used to love, you know, seeing a house pop on the market at 9 p.m. and jumping in the car and showing the house at 10 p.m. and getting it under contract at midnight.
I love it.
So
Yeah.
like those were the kind of things that I did. And now it's like, you know, if a house comes on the market, the seller's not making a decision for 7 days. So, you know, you don't have to jump in the car anymore. But then, you know, everyone else has the opportunity to see it. And I used to like how like people would appreciate us going above and beyond to get out there and get the house.
Right. They were like,
So
these people are really interested because they made an offer at
at
11 o'clock.
11 at night. Yeah.
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 So,
So that was a lot more fun than how things have been with just the lack of inventory.
yeah, I can definitely see that happening. And then so if let's say like a new like because you get a lot of inquiries from people want to join your team, would you say in the beginning is what is exactly what you would suggest is for them to do what you did when you first started, like reaching out to friends and family, or are things a little bit different now with the current condition?
Yeah, I mean, I tell them all like it's all friends and family, and you have to adapt your sphere of influence.
Hmm.
So if you are the golf extraordinaire over at, you know, Hartfeld Country Club, everybody at Hartfeld Country Club needs to know that you're a realtor.
Right.
You have to know them all. Get your, you know, business cards out, or even at your job. Like if, you know, if you work, everyone needs to know that you're the go-to realtor. So, I mean, you can adapt your sphere everywhere. You just have to make sure that people are not forgetting what you do, because people will easily forget what you do. They're going to forget about you. So you have to make sure that you're constantly reminding them that you're here and
Yep.
what you can do for them.
Yep. Especially with the
So,
social media and everything nowadays taking attention away from us. Like no one
mhm.
remembers. I know I don't remember most of what I did yesterday. So uh,
Yeah,
yeah, you
you
guys.
have to just constantly be reminding people what you do. And you think that even like you could do it for a whole year and they know what you do. And then after, you know, that year, they're going to be ready and their cousin's going to get their real estate license and they're going to just, you know, go with their cousin, or they're
Mhm.
going to go with the person just sitting next to them at work who just got their real estate license. They're going to go with whoever is just there and convenient.
Yeah.
So you just have to make sure you're just not stopping reminding people what you do.
It's a machine, right? It just keeps
Yes.
going. Yeah.
Yep.
And I don't know if you still have time, but I guess my last question before I have some rapid fire questions. I just curious about you that would love to, whatever you can answer.
Okay. Kind of
But
scared.
yeah, so don't worry about it. Nothing crazy.
Okay.
But I guess my last question I always like to ask people, why do you, and you kind of touched on that, but like kind of want to go dive deeper into it. Why do you get out of bed each morning and put in the work to be successful? Because obviously you are a very successful agent right now. Obviously everyone
Mhm.
can still do better no matter where you're at. But
Mhm.
what makes you still go out of bed excited and want to grow the business and get to $100 million in a year?
Um, I think like in terms of my professional career, I can't stand the idea of like not getting better each year. Like if I get worse or if I don't like sell as much as the like that just kills me inside. Um, and I guess we all need like a motivator, like your why. And I
Mhm.
guess for the longest time, like in all honesty, my why was I wanted to be successful and I wanted to make a lot of money, which is always like a great motivator for
Yep.
people. But I guess
Wrong with that.
recently, what?
Nothing wrong with that. Yep.
Yeah. So that was a great drive for me. I mean, it really drove me for a while, but then after a while I noticed that I mean, you can have success and you can have money, but that doesn't exactly equal happiness by any means. Um so I think now like starting a family, now it's my why has become like wanting to provide for like my family and my child and my future children. So that's become kind of like more important than just wanting money, because you can have money, but like, what are you going to do with it? So,
All right.
um, yeah, so I think just being able to provide, and then, trying to be better each year, like just having, you know, more sales each year, just to show that you're making progress, and like having goals. Because if you're not like writing down your goals every day, or writing things down is so important to me. Like, I have a whiteboard, and I write everything down. It helps me stay focused,
You
and I'm
did
big
the
into
morning
writing lists.
at night, or when do you do it?
When do I write lists?
Yeah, when do you focus on
All the
writing?
time.
All the time. Okay.
I do.
Right.
Sometimes I have to try to like calm down a little bit, but yeah, I think writing lists and writing things down and being able to like see it has
Yeah.
like really helps to like drive me big time.
I have to say a lot of the because I also am in the mastermind with top real estate investors across the country, and
Hmm.
almost everyone that's doing really well in their business, two things is exactly what you kind of mentioned. The desire to always get better, to always grow, one way or the other. It doesn't always have to be, like just money alone, but desire to always grow, and also having lists or having goal setting. Everyone has different methods, but it's always like write stuff down, write your list down, and write your goals down, put it in front of you, all around you.
Hmm.
Like the successful people, I heard a quote from somewhere: the successful people focus on the goal, and the unsuccessful people focus on the obstacles. Because
Oh.
so we always, when we get stuck into like the roller coaster, is like you focus on the problems rather than your goals. Even though you still got to solve the problems, but
Hmm.
having the focusing on the goals make it easier to get through the obstacles. So
Yeah, my biggest thing that I like to think, if there is a problem ever, is you just have to rip it off. You have to rip the band-aid off. That's literally like one of my biggest piece of advice that I give people like in the industry, is just rip the band-aid off.
all
Because
right,
if you let it harp, it grows, and it kills you.
yeah,
So,
yeah, it
um,
get ugly. Yep. Uh, all right. Got a few rapid fire questions if you don't mind, and then
yeah, sure.
wrap it up, and you can share anything you want at the end.
Okay.
I guess the first one, what's your favorite book?
Oh, Harry Potter series, or
Oh,
Game of Thrones, the series.
the book.
Hmm.
Okay, got it. Interesting. Tell us about your hobby.
My hobbies. So I enjoy working a lot, which really, people say is not a hobby. I know.
Yeah,
Um,
I'm
I
curious
en-
as well.
I love the beach, hence I am here now working at the beach. Um, I love laying out in the pool in the backyard with all my friends and family. I like hosting parties. Um, I love just spending time with my family, and yoga. I absolutely love yoga and
Uh,
meditation, even though I'm not always as consistent as I should be.
yeah,
But physical exercise is like so important. Um, but it's not always easy to find the motivation and the time.
yeah,
So, especially when you put work and whatnot ahead of that. So,
yeah. I hear you. Okay,
yeah,
cool. Um, what do you consider is your biggest failure?
my biggest what?
Failure?
Oh, my biggest failure. Um, hmm. Jesus, I was not planning on this.
That's the whole point of rapid fire
I don't,
questions.
I know I should have said no. I should be like signing off. Um,
Sign off.
I guess. Hmm. Oh, you know what? My biggest failure has probably been not keeping in contact with my family. over the last several years, because like time goes by so quickly. I mean, even having a baby, like it's crazy. She's like a year now, and I'm like, oh my God, the time flies. So having a baby made me realize that like I need to cherish those in my life and like put
Yeah.
them first, because I mean, we're not on this earth forever. So
Mhm.
that's probably my biggest uh regret that I've noticed so far, is
Right.
not putting in the time with family and those who are most important to you.
Gotcha.
So
Yeah. What's your superpower?
I don't have an off button.
Okay.
Seriously.
I can see that. Yeah. You have so not having an off button. So
Yep.
you're on all the time. That's your superpower.
Yeah.
Gotcha. Awesome. Um, I think that's pretty much my rapid fire questions. And then I guess,
Yay.
well, again, of course, want to thank you for your time today. And
Hmm.
I'll be definitely posting this and sending it to you as well, so you can use it however you want. Uh,
Yeah.
but any last words for anybody? Any last word you want to share to the world and share to the audience about being a successful business person, being a mom, being a friend, family, whatever. Any thoughts around that?
Um, yeah, I mean, I guess to wrap everything up, like for anyone interested like in the industry, you can keep your day job, you can keep your night job, and you can do it on, you can do real estate on the side. There's a bunch of different things within real estate, a bunch of
Mhm.
different little subcategories that you can get into. Like you're not exactly a real estate agent, but you do like the investment side and somehow find all of these properties. No idea how. I would actually like to interview you next to find out how you find them and get them.
Happy to
So
share.
that's okay, good. So that's like a mental note I'm making. And yeah, I mean, anyone could do it. You get what you put into it. It can be very addicting, and it's important to keep in mind the most important things in your life, because you can lose them before it's too late. So making time and putting your phone down. So that's something, that's another failure actually I just thought of, is like my inability to put my phone down and checking email and stuff.
Mhm.
It's just an up and down thing where, I have to just continue to be mindful of it until I can get better at it. So,
Yeah, I got it. How can people get in touch with you?
so I don't use an office phone. I just use my cell phone, which maybe is part of the problem, but at the same time, I do like to be like readily available whenever, like wherever, whenever I am.
Hmm.
So for instance, like all this morning, I was like on the beach working from my phone. If I had an office phone, I wouldn't be able to do that. So
Right.
it's kind of like a blessing and a curse, because I can also be out to dinner and then I'm like texting another agent about like home inspection negotiations.
Right.
So that's like what's good and bad about the job, is that you can literally do it anywhere. You can just jump on a plane tomorrow and go to Costa Rica, and you could be on a zip line on your cell phone, like, making appointments for houses or texting clients. But
Yeah.
um, also you have to like be able to like put it down. Boundaries are important, which people have taught me in the past, but it's like easier said than done. So
Hmm. Yeah, because you got a big goal that you're going after. So
yes,
take um,
yes,
so if anyone's interested in joining your team or wanting you to list, because I have different kind of, especially my Facebook and like my TikTok and Instagram. I have like 40,000 followers on TikTok. I don't
do
know.
you?
Yeah, so I don't know who they might be, but if they're sellers, buyers, agents, anybody want to reach out to you for your help in real estate, what's the best way to reach out to you?
um
Website?
Email, cell
Email?
phone. I've had people contact me through like Facebook Messenger. I
Oh,
actually have a business card here.
I don't know if we can see that. Do you mind to read out? And I'll
Yeah.
put it on as well. You want to read it out, just in case?
Yeah. So my cell phone's 302
Yeah.
598-4400.
Hmm.
And then my email is pretty easy. It's just Lauren@thejanesteam.com.
Yep. So Lauren at thejanesteam.com.
Yeah,
Gotcha. Perfect.
either one.
Yep.
Either form of communication for the most part.
Sure.
I typically try to get back to people as soon as possible.
That's perfect. Any final question that you wish I would have asked you, but I didn't?
No, I think we touched on just about everything.
Okay, awesome. Well, Lauren, it's been a pleasure talking to you, and
You
I think
too.
I learned quite a bit of stuff from just talking to you, and I definitely enjoy our conversation. Hopefully, we'll chat again in the future, and I wish you all the best. Enjoy the beach time, the baby time, and then I guess I'll talk to you pretty soon.
Thank you, and I will be sending you an invite to interview you next.
Oh, okay, thank you. Definitely, I'll make sure to put that on.